Have you ever noticed how some workouts just feel, well, fantastic? Like you're practically flying through them, you finish feeling energized, accomplished.
Absolutely. And then there are those other days.
Right. Where maybe it's even a similar intensity workout, but every single step feels like wading through mud. The whole thing is just a slog.
hmm
What is it that makes some exercise deeply enjoyable, while other times it just feels like a total chore, regardless of how hard you're actually working? Why does your mood seem to play such a big role?
It's a great question, and one that has huge implications for sticking with activity.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're actually embarking on a mission to unpack a really recent scientific study that sheds some serious light on this exact question.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We're going to pull out the most important insights to help you understand what really drives enjoyment in exercise beyond just the physical side of things. The goal here is to give you some knowledge you can actually use, maybe transform your own approach.
Sounds good.
So the heart of our deep dive today is this compelling article. It's titled, "The Effect of Well-Being and Exercise Intensity on Enjoyment in Soccer Players." Really interesting data in there.
That's right. And for those of you who like the specifics or maybe want to check out the original paper later,
Yeah, definitely.
it was authored by Weiqiang, Miguel Silva, Robert Trybulski, Xinjie Yu, and Filipe Manuel Clemente.
Okay.
And you can find it published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. It's in the 2025 volume. That's volume 24, specifically pages 292 through 302.
Got it.
There's also a DOI, a digital object identifier, if you want to find it directly online. https://doi.org 10.520A2 JSM.2205.292.
Perfect. And, while this study specifically looks at male soccer players, which is a great context, the findings really have much broader implications, wouldn't you say? Whether you're like an elite athlete or just hitting the gym on weekends or even just trying to move more. These insights are pretty crucial for making activity not just effective, but genuinely enjoyable. And maybe most importantly, sustainable. Something you'll actually keep doing.
That sustainability piece is key.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, first off, why even focus on enjoyment? Its importance in physical activity is it's absolutely foundational. It's often kind of overlooked.
Yeah, people focus on calories or intensity.
Right. But enjoyment, it's arguably the single most critical factor influencing whether someone sticks with exercise or sports long term.
Okay.
Think about it. When you genuinely enjoy something, it fosters intrinsic motivation. You do it because you want to, because it feels good, fulfilling.
Not because you feel like you have to or out of guilt.
Exactly. That intrinsic drive, it's a powerful engine for consistency.
Yeah, that makes total sense. We've all had that feeling, that kind of flow state, right? Where you're just so into an activity, you barely notice the effort or even time passing.
And the study points out, like you said, enjoyment tends to lower your perceived exertion.
Ah, so it feels less intense, even if objectively it's pretty tough.
Precisely. And the ripple effects from that are significant. People who enjoy exercise more are way more likely to stick to their training programs. They have lower dropout rates.
Which means better results in the long run.
Exactly. Better psychological outcomes, better physiological outcomes, simply because they stay consistent. It's the difference between seeing exercise as like a chore you dread versus an activity you actually look forward to.
And what makes this particular study stand out compared to maybe older research is how they looked at everything together, right?
Yes, that's a key point. Past studies often looked at, say, well-being or exercise intensity, but kind of in isolation. What these researchers wanted to do was bridge that gap. Look at both factors together, and this is crucial across different kinds of training formats.
Okay, that variety seems important. That's where the deeper insights might come from.
You got it. To investigate this, they used what's called a cross-sectional study design. They recruited 77 male soccer players. These were from the China University Football Association.
Right.
And then they had these players do 4 very distinct training formats while they meticulously observed how well-being factors and intensity influenced their enjoyment in each one.
4 distinct formats. What were they specifically?
So they included 2 types of small-sided games, or SSGs. Those really engaging competitive drills.
Yeah, like mini games.
Exactly. They used a 5v5 SSG and a 1v1 SSG. And then they also included 2 types of high-intensity interval training, HIIT.
Ah, the intense bursts with recovery.
Right. They had a long HIIT format and a short HIIT format. This variety let them see if the impact of, say, mood or sleep changed depending on whether it was a game or interval sprints.
And they measured a lot of things, didn't they? It wasn't just asking, did you enjoy it?
No, definitely not. It was comprehensive. For enjoyment itself, they used a standard validated tool, the Physical Activity Enjoyment Scale PACES. But then for well-being, they looked at several angles. They measured something called total mood disturbance, or TMD.
TMD, okay. What's that capture?
It basically measures negative mood states, tension, depression, anger, fatigue, confusion. It came from a well-known questionnaire, the Profile of Mood States, or POMS.
Gotcha.
They also tracked self-reported sleep duration, how much sleep the players got. They assessed perceived recovery status, PRS, using a specific scale.
So how recovered the players felt?
Exactly. And they even checked for musculoskeletal symptoms, aches and pains, using the standardized Nordic questionnaire, the SNQ.
Wow, that is a lot just on the well-being side.
It really is. And they were just as thorough with intensity. They monitored it objectively and subjectively.
That is so.
Objectively, they measured heart rate specifically, the percentage of heart rate reserve, which is a common physiological marker of effort.
Right, the hard data.
But just as importantly, they gathered subjective data using the rate of perceived exertion, or RPE. They used the Borg CR10 scale for that.
How hard does this feel to your scale from 0 to 10?
That's the one. So asking the players themselves to rate the effort.
So, as you can tell, this wasn't just a quick casual look. This whole approach, getting objective data, subjective feelings across different situations, it really let them dig into how all these physical and mental bits play together.
Definitely. They weren't just guessing. They had the data to really connect the dots.
Okay, so they gathered all this data. What did they find? What was the big picture?
Well, when they crunched the numbers, they found a really powerful relationship. The combined factors, so well-being and exercise intensity together, explained a pretty significant chunk of why enjoyment varied across all those different training types.
How significant are we talking?
We're talking between 33% and 49% of the variance in enjoyment.
Wow, that's actually quite a lot, up to almost half.
It is. It clearly shows there's this strong, meaningful connection. How you feel, how hard you think you're pushing, and how much you actually enjoy the activity. They're really tangled together. It's not just random.
Okay, so that's the overall connection. But when they looked at the individual factors, was there one thing that really stood out, like the strongest predictor?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets really insightful, I think.
Yeah.
Of all the different things they measured, sleep, recovery, aches, intensity, the study found, pretty unequivocally, that total mood disturbance, TMD, was the strongest and most consistent negative predictor of enjoyment.
Across all the training formats?
Across all four. Didn't matter if it was the long intervals, the short ones, the 5v5 game, or the 1v1 duel. If a player's TMD score was high.
Meaning they were feeling more tense, fatigued, angry, confused, those negative states.
Exactly. If that score was high, their enjoyment of the session was predictably lower. The statistical significance was very high, wins less than 0.001, which in research terms means it's a very reliable finding.
So slipping that around, a lower TMD score being in a better overall mood meant higher enjoyment. That feels profound, almost. It's not just a minor thing.
It really isn't. And this lines up perfectly with a lot of other research showing how much our psychological state impacts how we perceive training, our motivation.
Right.
Basically, your emotional state acts like this powerful lens.
Yeah.
It colors how you perceive the physical effort and the whole activity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already feeling down or stressed or mentally tired,
yeah,
even something you normally love can just feel like a burden. It's like a filter everything else passes through.
It's amazing how much our headspace dictates the physical experience. Okay, so TMD was the big one overall, but the study also found specific things for the different training formats, right? Which gives us even more practical stuff to think about.
Exactly. It wasn't uniform across the board. Other factors popped up depending on the activity.
So, let's talk about the long HI sessions. Those are tough, sustained, high intensity. What mattered most for enjoyment there?
For the long HIT, two things really stood out as negative predictors. First, getting less sleep, lower sleep duration, significantly reduced enjoyment.
Okay, less sleep, less fun on long, hard efforts. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. And second, a higher rate of perceived exertion, RPE. So if the player felt the activity was harder, that also significantly reduced enjoyment.
This just rings so true, doesn't it? Trying to do a really intense, long workout when you're sleep deprived?
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's like asking for a miserable experience. The study just puts data behind that feeling.
It really does. Prolonged high-intensity work is already taxing, physically and mentally. Not enough sleep just pours fuel on that fire and makes the strain feel way worse.
Right.
And similarly, if you perceive the effort as just incredibly high, level 9 or 10 on that scale, it's naturally going to be less enjoyable for most people most of the time.
So for coaches, or even just for yourself?
Yeah, for coaches, it means really paying attention to athlete sleep and managing that perceived exertion during these kinds of sessions is critical. And for you listening, it's that direct reminder. Prioritize your sleep, especially before a big workout.
Okay, now for the 1v1 small-sided games. This finding sounded really interesting, almost backwards.
Ah, yes. This one definitely makes you pause. The study found that greater musculoskeletal symptoms, basically, more aches and pains reported on that SNQ questionnaire actually predicted higher enjoyment in the 1v1 games.
Beta was 0.29, statistically significant.
But more pain, more enjoyment. That seems totally counterintuitive. We're always told pain is bad, stop if it hurts.
It absolutely seems counterintuitive on the surface.
Yeah.
And this is where you really see the complexity of motivation and psychology coming into play.
Okay, so what's the explanation?
Well, the researchers suggest that the 1v1 format is inherently very engaging, right? It's competitive, stimulating, requires focus.
Yeah, very absorbing.
This high level of psychological stimulation and intrinsic motivation, the fun of the competition, the challenge might actually be strong enough to override the feeling of physical discomfort.
So the mental engagement kind of distracts from or outweighs the aches?
Possibly. Or even more nuanced, athletes might interpret some of that discomfort not just as pain, but as feedback, a sign of effort, of pushing themselves, of meeting the challenge, almost like good pain or effort-related soreness.
Ah, like proof they're working hard in a context they enjoy.
Exactly. And that feeling of accomplishment, of overcoming the challenge, could actually contribute to greater overall enjoyment, despite the physical sensations. It really highlights how powerful intrinsic motivation can be, especially in intense, engaging activities where your mind is fully occupied.
That really does flip the script. It's not just avoid discomfort, but how you frame it in an activity that clicks with you. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the short HIIT, the really brief, explosive bursts?
For the short HIIT sessions, the key finding was about recovery. A higher perceived recovery status, PRS, resulted in higher enjoyment.
So feeling well recovered made the short sprints more fun.
Precisely. When athletes felt their tanks were full, they were ready to go, they found those brief, intense efforts much more enjoyable. It makes sense, right? If you feel recovered, those bursts feel powerful, exhilarating.
Yeah, versus feeling drained before you even start.
Exactly. So this really underscores how important adequate recovery is. Thinking about nutrition, hydration, maybe active recovery techniques to make sure you're not just physically prepped, but also feeling positive and ready for that high-intensity work.
It sets the stage for enjoyment.
It really does.
And one other point about intensity, you mentioned they measured heart rate objectively and perceived exertion subjectively.
Yes.
And it was interesting that the objective heart rate data, the percentage of heart rate reserve, it wasn't actually a significant predictor of enjoyment in any of the conditions.
Correct. That didn't seem to drive enjoyment directly.
But the subjective feeling, the RPE, was significant, particularly in those longer HIIT sessions.
Exactly. And this is a really crucial distinction, I think, a major takeaway.
Yeah.
It strongly suggests that when it comes to how much you enjoy an activity, your perception of the effort often matters more than the raw physiological numbers.
How hard it feels to you is more important for enjoyment than how fast your heart is actually beating.
In many cases, yes. That subjective experience seems to be a more powerful driver of enjoyment than just looking at your watch or heart rate monitor. It really speaks to that mind-body connection in exercise.
Okay, so let's try and tie all this together. What are the big practical takeaways here for coaches, but also just for anyone trying to enjoy exercise more?
Well, the core messages are pretty clear. For coaches, it's about looking beyond just the workout plan. Prioritize your athletes' mood states, maybe check in more often, ensure they're getting enough sleep, really emphasize recovery protocols, and manage that perceived exertion carefully, especially when the sessions are long and tough.
And translating that directly to, your own fitness journey, even if you're not a pro soccer player.
Absolutely. These insights are incredibly valuable for anyone.
Okay, so first big one. Your mood matters a lot. Before you even start moving, just take a second. How are you actually feeling?
Be honest with yourself.
If you're super stressed, really fatigued, just in a terrible mood, this study strongly suggests maybe today isn't the day for your hardest workout. Maybe adjust.
Right. Maybe something less demanding or something you find inherently more fun or relaxing.
Yeah, maybe it's a walk in nature instead of intervals, or a dance class instead of heavy lifting. Don't just force yourself into something your mood is already setting up to be miserable.
Good advice.
Second takeaway. Sleep is fuel. Not just for performance, but directly for enjoyment.
Yes. Especially before those tougher, longer sessions.
Prioritizing good, consistent sleep isn't just a nice-to-have for recovery. It directly impacts how much you'll enjoy the effort and how hard it will feel. It's really part of your training plan.
Non-negotiable, really.
Third, recovery isn't optional. It's a cornerstone of enjoyment. Listen to your body. Build in that proper nutrition, hydration, maybe some stretching or foam rolling, whatever helps you feel genuinely ready and energized for the next session.
Because feeling recovered directly translates to enjoying it more, especially those short, sharp efforts.
Exactly. Fourth, perception can trump reality. Remember that how hard the workout feels to you might be more critical for enjoyment than the objective numbers.
Right. Your RPE matters.
So find that intensity sweet spot. It doesn't always have to be maximum effort. Find what feels challenging but still positive, engaging, enjoyable, rather than just something you endure.
Find your sustainable challenge.
Yeah. And finally, number 5. Don't necessarily shy away from engaging activities just because they might involve some discomfort.
Back to that 1v1 finding.
Right. Think about those competitive games, the mental stimulation, the fun, the challenge, the sense of overcoming something that might actually make the physical effort feel less burdensome and the whole thing way more enjoyable.
Sometimes that mental engagement totally transforms the physical side.
It seems like it. Now, we should probably mention limitations, like any study.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's important context. This study relied quite a bit on self-reported measures.
Yeah.
Mood, sleep, recovery, RPE, aches. Now, they used validated questionnaires, which helps.
Right, standard tools.
But it's still subjective to a degree. Also, the sample was specific. Male university soccer players in China.
So we need to be careful about generalizing too broadly just yet.
Exactly. Future research would be great to see if these same patterns hold up strongly in, say, female athletes or people in different sports or even just recreational exercisers from different backgrounds.
Makes sense. But even with those limitations, it feels like the study gives us really solid, usable insights. Things we can think about right away.
I agree. Very actionable findings.
So as you think about your next workout, maybe your run tomorrow or your gym session later, here's a final thought to maybe chew on.
Okay.
True enjoyment in physical activity. Maybe it isn't just about trying to avoid all discomfort. Maybe it's actually more about how we interpret and overcome challenges within activities that genuinely capture our interests and engage us, mind and body.
Interesting framing.
How might thinking about it that way shift your approach to your next workout, or even your whole long-term relationship with movement? Something to consider.
Definitely food for thought.
So just to quickly recap this deep dive, the big headline from the research by Weiqiang and his colleagues is that your mood is a huge driver of exercise enjoyment.
Absolutely dominant factor.
And other well-being factors like sleep, feeling recovered, and importantly, your perceived exertion also play significant roles, and their importance can shift depending on what kind of training you're doing.
It highlights the need for an individualized approach.
Yeah, considering both the mental and physical side seems key to really optimizing training and, crucially, making it more enjoyable long-term.
Well said.
We definitely encourage you, if this sparked your interest, to delve deeper into the original paper. Again, it's called The Effect of Well-Being and Exercise Intensity on Enjoyment in Soccer Players.
By Weiqiang and colleagues in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, 2025 volume.
Check it out if you want all the details. And hey, if you found this deep dive valuable,
Hope you did.
make sure you follow this channel, turn on those notifications. That way you won't miss our future deep dives into more fascinating research and actionable insights like this one.
We aim to help you get well-informed, quickly, and thoroughly.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.